Hey boss, the viewer, what you see here are the different sizes of heat shrink tubings or heat shrink tubes. Let's dive through it. They are important, how they are used, and how they come into electricity and electronics work. But before moving on, please go ahead and then click subscribe and turn on notification for receiving the notification for new uploaded videos. Now let's go. Heat shrink tubes are the tubes that shrinks when heat is applied on it. It means to change size when heat is applied on it to insulate, protect and organize the wires or component in which it is wrapped in. That's why the heat gun comes into action. You see that the package when you buy the heat shrink, it includes also the heat gun, which provide heat or which blow heat on the surface of heat shrink, of course, to shrink itself around the wires. Like in general, what to know about heat shrink tubes. Then what to know about heat shrink. So when you are going to buy heat shrink, you have also to know the material in which they are made, and the materials are of variety as you see in the list on my paper. They are polyurethane, PVC, and then elastomeric, but the most used is polyurethane. You may account also the heat shrink that come with a glue for better adhesion on the wires or on the component in which it is wrapped. And you can also choose the material according to weather condition or where you are going to use the heat shrink. If there is excessive temperature, you can go with the fourth one, which is called fluoropolymer material. It is good and suitable for high temperature. The other thing to know when you are going to buy a heat shrink tube, it is also the size and then heat shrink ratio. The other thing to know on when you are going to buy a heat shrink tube is the size. I mean the size of the wire you are going to shrink, or the junction you are going to cover using a heat shrink. But before knowing the size, also you should focus on shrink ratio. For example, you see that the polyurethane heat shrink tube we are using in this video has a heat shrink ratio of 2:1. Now as you see, we have a 2:1 heat shrink ratio. So that means when you want to shrink a 5 cm junction of wire, or you want to insulate the material with 5 cm of diameter, you will need a heat shrink tube of 10 cm of diameter or 10 mm of diameter of heat shrink tube. That's all about heat shrink ratio. Now let's the heat shrink tube in action. Suppose that I have the wire like this, so I'm going to join them, but before joining them I will choose a good size of a heat shrink tube, and after estimating the size of the junction, I mean what will be the size of junction, you insert the heat shrink tube inside the wire before making a junction. Then you make a junction, and then you see that I finished making the junction and the heat shrink is already inserted inside. So I may pour the heat shrink inside the wire to cover the wires. Then you see I'm done. So I'm going to bring the heat gun. Now this is the heat gun, and then it has a 220 voltage EU plug. So let me plug it. After having the heat gun connected, now you can blow the heat, and then you see that the heat shrink is shrinking itself around the wire. And you are done. You see that you have a fine finished junction which is weather resistant and then insulated. Guys, thank you for watching. Hope that you enjoyed the video. Please give thumb by liking on this video and give a hand by subscribing on this channel. Ciao, bye.